Hey everyone, today I'm doing a movie review of Zootopia 2. Just a quick spoilers alert here. If you haven't watched the film, this would be a good time to pause the video. I have to comment first on what the movie does well, and that is the realism in animation. You could just see that over years the artists have gotten better and better. And another thing they did really well in the movie was how they portrayed the conflicts between Nick and Judy, especially how they narrate the build up of tension in their partner relationship. And I couldn't help wanting to give Nick a hug during the first half of the movie. So the story starts with Judy being portrayed as kind of a boss lady. They go on police jobs where Judy is mostly doing her own thing, whereas Nick is just dangling along. At one point in the film, the character's motives are revealed. So Judy is driven by a constant need to prove herself, and she's believing that only by proving herself that she and Nick can stay partners. Nick, on the other hand, is self-confident and feels no obligation to prove himself to anyone. Yet he recognizes the differences between him and Judy. He chooses to support Judy, joining her in the secret investigation, not because he needs it, but because he knows it will make Judy feel better. So at this point, we could kind of see that Judy's motivation is to prove herself, and Nick's motivation is to be around Judy, because he doesn't care about proving anything to anyone, but does it anyways, because Judy is kind of like the only ray of sunshine in his life, and he feels content just by doing anything as long as it's with Judy. So when Judy has met with Gary the Snake, she asks for help from Nick to rescue the snake. Nick was unwilling at this point because he hasn't even met up with the snake, and Judy was asking him to help someone who looked like the bad guy. But Nick does it anyways, putting all his trust in Judy and risking both of their careers. And we do see that right after they rescue the snake, their careers were jeopardized and they were framed to become outlaws. They kind of reached a point of no return here, but with Mr. Big offering them a hideout, they kind of got a last chance to choose. And Nick's reaction to that was, what's there to choose? Let's go to the hideout. But seeing that Judy's mind was set on the case, so after some wavering, he decided to follow Judy to go onto this car of this crazy beaver to the home of a bunch of reptiles, and Nick was afraid of reptiles. And there is a detail worth noting here is when they were at the home of these reptiles, they're meeting up with this one reptile who was going to give them more information on the case. And Nick makes a crude joke about the tortoise experiencing a slow death. So this joke seemed really crude for the situation, but keep in mind that he made this joke after the reptile guy had tricked them first into eating some worms. And the rabbit's a herbivore, so who knows what it's actually gonna do. So the way I kind of see it is Nick making this joke as a way of kind of getting back at the reptile guy. It's a minute detail, but it kind of shows that he doesn't make these jokes out of no reason. And later on, Judy does more dangerous things, and the most dangerous is jumping into a red tunnel of water slide that the beaver told them was guaranteed too long for them, that they're gonna run out of air. Actually, Judy didn't hear this part, but Nick heard the warning. He had jumped in with her and actually saved Judy this way. But after they got out of the tunnel, Judy's mind still focused on the case that she actually expects an apology from Nick for losing the snake. This left Nick feeling very unhappy and makes Judy's character seem very ungrateful. After following the trace, they make their way to Honeymoon Lodge, which brings up a scene that I think is the most important point of conflict in the movie. So Judy has found a desk full of evidence, and at the same time, the ZPD police have found them. So Nick asks Judy to leave the evidence and just escape from the police first. But Judy is still gathering evidence and doesn't want to leave. And eventually, Nick told Judy that he thinks what they're doing isn't worth dying for. He shares his worldview that saving the world once or twice doesn't really make a difference. And Judy's first reaction hearing that was to say, then I guess we are really different. This scene is really hard to watch because this was Nick's way of caring for Judy, but all that she could see was that Nick does not share the same worldview as hers. And I guess that's unacceptable for Judy because it just goes against everything that she believes in. So now, not only are they not getting back together, but Nick was also being judged by Judy for his worldview. My thoughts, I think it's actually unfair for Judy to ask Nick to believe in the same thing she believes, especially when it comes to the subject of life and death. And Nick is basically saying that he's not willing to die for a stranger whom he had only met once and never even had the chance to talk to. So I don't think it's too unreasonable to say that. To say it's not worth dying for. I don't know why Judy was so disappointed in him. Anyways, so Nick got caught and put behind the bars. And in this cell, under the influence of the beaver, he was able to put his affection for Judy into plain words. And then after a bunch of things happening, Nick was eventually able to come face to face with Judy, and they confess their love. And they basically accept their differences and still wishes to be with each other. So that pretty much concludes the story, but I want to touch upon the other two supporting characters, Gary the Snake and the Linksley. So I have to say that Gary the Snake, I feel like this character is a bit lacking in character development. So he is supposed to be the good guy that's been mistaken as the bad guy. And in order to portray that, his first appearance, he's given a timid and weak voice. And he basically says that we aren't the bad guys. And I think that kind of portrayal aren't convincing enough to pull back the audience expectation of him being the bad guy. It's a bit rushed, like there's not enough character development because the weak and the timid character also applies to the Linksley, and he turned out to be the villain. And about the Linksley, I think he might have just been the worst villain I've ever seen. I'm talking about villain-wise. He might have been the easiest to defeat villain of all time. He was actually helping the main characters the whole time, with no secret plans whatsoever. None other than waiting to turn on the main characters just at the last moment. And he failed at that too. He doesn't even have a backup plan B or something. And the worst part of it was that if he were to have done less, he would have won. Like if he had not rescued Gary the Snake when Judy and Nick had dropped him in the snow, Gary would have freeze to death and Judy and Nick would be framed forever. It would be like a 3 birds in 1 stone scenario. So I don't know what he was thinking. It might have been that he wanted to know what was written on the journal, but I feel like he already knows because he even has a snake bite gun like the same one his great-grandfather used. So I don't know, I think he's the villain of the year. And in the end, another logical question comes up, is how did the beaver girl survive? Because I remember only seeing one snake venom VP pen, and that one was used on Judy. So it makes me wonder if beavers are naturally venom resistant in the real world. Let me know in the comments if you know the answer. And lastly, does anyone know the name of the reptile that Nick stepped on the tail of? Cause that reptile seemed even bigger than the fox. Please comment, and thank you for watching.